Rockaways Productions presents The Casey Waters Show, Episode 548, Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly, Part 3. Hello, I'm your host, Casey Waters. Today, I will continue with Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly. This book, published in the early 70s, deals with various states of consciousness. Some of these consciousness states were obtained through use of isolation flotation tanks and sometimes with LSD. Today's show will feature background footage from Long Beach Island, New Jersey. I went there recently on a family vacation. I have Squeaks with me again today. So, now let's continue with Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly. I am not limited by the known physical senses, known physical signals sent, received by my brain. Transcended, these limits are left behind. I send, receive messages by means unknown, with unknown entities greater than me. Beyond transcendence is an infinite variety of unknowns. I move from my brain into other universes and spaces, other states of being. Once lived, these unknowns are no longer unknown. In the other universes and spaces, the other states of being are teachers, guardians. Beyond these unknowns, now known, is full, complete truth. The guardians, teachers, make me aware, help me be aware, and help me to experience, when I'm ready, realities beyond belief, beyond proof, beyond demonstration, beyond theory, beyond imagination. Beyond that truth, full and complete, are unknowns. The teachers take over my lessons. New unknowns become known. The cycle repeats. Mastered, these unknowns are transcended. Now, let's go to page 155, continuing on to page 156 of Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly. Resonance is an electrical engineering concept derived from radio and electromagnetic waves traveling in circuits. If one has a circuit that oscillates, an oscillator, one can feed energy from that circuit into spatially distributed circuits, such as wires running in parallel, as in cables, and then to tuned structures, such as a large antenna at the other end of the parallel wires or cables. By properly adjusting the electrical physical parameters of the systems, such as capacitance or wire size, one can detune parts of the circuit to transmit the energy from one part to the other. For instance, a cable going from the oscillator to the antenna must be detuned in order to get maximum transfer of energy to the antenna. The antenna itself must be tuned. That is, it must be adjusted in the length and its distance from the ground in such a way that one achieves a standing wave pattern on the antenna. These waves on the antenna itself of voltage and current must stand still, as it were, and not travel. When standing waves exist on the antenna, the oscillating field distributed over the antenna excites traveling waves in the surrounding space, which we call radio waves. The antenna then radiates. Now, let's go to page 158, continuing on to page 159. I explained these ideas to the Kairos workshop group and hypothesized that, with the proper group activities, we could set up group circuits, and then each individual would experience reception and transmission of new information. I hypothesized that if we could arrange the group in the proper physical configuration, we would resonate with some of these unknown energies and create new patterns of energies that each one of us could detect, and thus receive new and startling kinds of information. I further hypothesized that the conditions under which this would be best seen and detected by each one of us would be for us to get into resonance with one another in a physical arrangement in a room, so that we were a resonating group circuit. If there were the right number of people in the circuit, it would resonate. Otherwise, there would be traveling waves, and none of us would be able to detect them. Each person, then, is an element in an oscillating circuit, and as one adds or subtracts elements, one reaches a resonant number of persons, each connected with the others. If one adds one more after one achieves resonance, the phenomenon in the group should change to a moving wave rather than a standing wave, so the messages will not be as clearly received by each member of the group. Only repeating standing wave oscillating messages will be detected unless a person is trained to pick up the non-repeating traveling messages. The theory further proposes that an individual sitting in lotus or some other position meditating can bring himself into resonance with these energies and can receive messages from various entities, human and non-human, terrestrial and non-terrestrial. But this is more difficult than if the same person works in a group. The group tends to go towards resonance, closely coupling individuals and entraining them at the correct frequencies. Now, let's go to page 192 of Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly. During the Pampas, I went through several physical death, rebirth experiences. I pushed myself into regions of exertion beyond what I thought were my limits. I literally risked what I conceived of as overexertion, with heart failure as the expected result. This heart failure did not occur. I found I had gone through a barrier of fear in the body and into a new high energy space of physical functioning, which was a prerequisite for me to achieve plus 12. To go up, I had to push through that which held me down, fear of bodily death, and an unconscious component of the downer programs, or in Oscar terms, body ego or body fixations of ego. Now, let's go to page 195, continuing on to page 196. There can be a lot of mental noise going on in one's head. One can talk practically, incessantly to oneself and to other people in one's head. As one gets into good physical shape, this kind of impulsive internal and external activity tends to lessen considerably. One's 48 becomes more integrated, more unitized, and more of one's available biocomputer is utilized. In general, disciplined physical exercises tend to unitize the computations, the programming, the impulses of the biocomputer. One becomes more whole. One becomes more one's own self and functions less at the behest of unknowns in oneself and of other persons on the outside. Within a few days after starting a series of disciplined exercises done daily, one can begin to see the results of this increased, almost unconscious, control over one's biocomputer. The self-meta programmer assumes control over more of one's biocomputer. The paradox here seems to be that one subjects oneself to a regimen or a program of exercises in order to achieve freedom from the noise inside one's own body and head. In Chile, I found my inner impulsive noises decreasing as my physical condition improved. Now, let's go to page 198, continuing on to page 199 of Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly. Today, I would estimate that we understand less than 0.1% of what is going on in our body, in our brain, or in our mind, and in our spirit. At any given instant, a given human being can understand 1/1000th of the realities inherent within himself, his external reality, and other humans. As distance from his conscious center increases, he knows less and less in a fast, asymptotic, logarithmic decline of knowledge. The statement about the increase of ignorance with distance, of course, does not pertain if one can tune in on cosmic networks and become part of those networks in a conscious, functioning way. Understanding is limited. Knowledge is still limited. But consciousness can be expanded beyond where it normally is in the consensus external and internal realities as dictated by our culture. Now, let's go to page 203. The fear of death is at -3. The joy of eternal life is +3. The dichotomies expressed here are characteristic of the self-metaprogrammer. In essence, there is no such dichotomy. One can see -3 plus 3 as identical. The only difference is in the attitude of the self-metaprogrammer, carried over into the essence levels of functioning. Apparently, the uncontaminated pure essence has no such dichotomies. Cosmic love does not take sides. It teaches through its agents, unequivocally, eternally, irreversibly. Now, let's go to page 206 of Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly. The important part about plus 24 is the enjoyment and the automatic nature of what one is doing, plus the loss of self, selfhood, and the absence of ego metaprogramming. In plus 24, one has turned control of the biocomputer over to the task in hand, whatever this may mean in terms of the reality of body, mind, and spirit. Now, let's go to page 235. For the next few weeks, I continued my work on the deviations of my meditations and in general followed the analysis philosophy that was laid down by Oscar. Positive states are natural, simple, easy, obvious, and continuous. Anything that brings one out of Satori is ego. In other words, ego is that which reduces love, joy, conscious awareness. It is important work to reduce the ego. Now let's go to page 238, continuing on to page 239 of Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly. Once one has moved into the point, become the point, one can move down into the body, into others, people's heads or bodies, or out over the planet, or into outer space, into the galaxy, into the cosmos. As long as one holds together as one identity, a single point, one remains in state plus 6, no matter how far out, no matter how deep down one is going. If one is still an identifiable point functioning on its own, even though it is being programmed by other entities, one is in state plus 6. I found this a very convenient way of distinguishing plus 12 from plus 6 and plus 6 from plus 3. In plus 12, the body is still present. In plus 6, it is not. In plus 6, one is still oneself, more or less. In plus 3, one loses that self and becomes, in essence, one of the universal pilots of vehicles. The old psychic textbooks gave directions for getting into plus 6 by creating an astral body and an astral cord so that one can stay connected back with the physical body. This is excess baggage that one does not need. This is using up some of one's computation machinery in a narcissistic security operation. The more efficient means of travel is in the point, without the artificial construction of a needless body on these levels. Cf. R.A. Monroe's account, Bibliography. The same consideration holds true for entities that one meets in state plus 6. There is no point in clothing them with the bodies of angels or other types of human projections. This might use up your store of computational ability, which is needed for much more profound tasks on plus 6. It is on plus 6 that one may begin to realize one's own eternal nature. Here it is that one may come upon one's previous lives. One may come upon information about the future, probable futures, or perhaps a secure knowledge about how long one's body or vehicle is going to last, under what circumstances it will die. Now, let's go to page 244, continuing on to page 245 of Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly. It is extremely important that one clarifies one's concepts in this region. As one clarifies the concepts, the pathways to plus 6 are more purified and facilitated. As one machineries becomes perfected, one can move into plus 6 more easily. As one de-emphasizes and reduces those programs which keep one out of plus 6, it becomes easier and easier to get there for whatever time is practical. The boundary between plus 6 and plus 3 can be understood as the boundary between all essences and one's own particular essence. As one moves more and more into one's own essence, one suddenly discovers there is a strong connection from one's own essence into all other essences in the universe. The first time one makes that discovery, one moves into the next state, plus 3, the classical Satori Samadhi. Now, let's go to page 252. My notes continue. I am a thin layer of all those beings on 3, mingling, connected with one another in a spherical surface around the whole known universe. Our backs are to the void. We are creating energy, matter, and life at the interface between the void and all known creation. We are facing into the known universe, creating it, filling it. I am one with them, spread in a thin layer around the sphere with a small, slightly greater concentration of me in one small zone. I feel the power of the galaxy pouring through me. I am following the program, the conversion program of void to space, to energy, to matter, to life, to consciousness, to us, the creators. From nothing on one side to the created everything on the other, I am the creation process itself. Incredibly strong, incredibly powerful. Now, let's go to page 262 of Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly. My own skepticism is intact. Please keep yours. Skepticism is a necessary instrument in the exploration of the unknown. Humor is even more necessary, especially in regards to one's own self and one's observations and records. Full, dispassionate detachment implies cosmic comedy, with each of us a fun-loving player. Cosmic love is ruthlessly loving. Whether you like it or not, it loves you, teaches you, teases you, plays with you, surprises you. Now, let's go to page 264 of Center of the Cyclone by Dr. John C. Lilly. In my own way, I have found that deep understanding is the best path for me into the unknown, the highest states of consciousness. I fully expect to continue to pursue this path. I consider everything I have written as transitional. As the exploration deepens and widens, so we will be able to do a better job of mapping and exploring and further mapping. As of today, I have found no final answers. I am intent on continuing the search. Am I just the leader of 100 billions of connected cells? If so, who elected me leader? Where did the cells come from? If I am more than just the net result of 100 billions of cells living cooperatively, where did I come from? The miracle is that the universe created a part of itself to study the rest of it.
Casey Waters Show. Producer, Casey Waters. Graphic editing, Judson Laird. Please note our new email address, caseywaters2@caseywaters.com.